Hello friends, welcome to another episode in the series Curiouser and Curiouser. Okay, this is what was said on the radio. Each day, Joe Morris is focusing on a different aspect from the make-believe world of Alice in Wonderland. Towards the end of the book, Alice gets caught up in an absurd legal trial. Thank goodness real life isn't like that.
The trial's beginning. Come on!
So you're arresting me? We're not arresting you, but if you don't come, we'll have to arrest you. There's a very thin line between one day leading your life and the next day you're a criminal.
The Knave of Hearts was standing before them in chains, with a soldier on each side to guard him.
I never envisaged this happening. This wasn't in my life plan.
In the very middle of the court was a table with a large dish of tarts upon it. They looked so good that it made Alice quite hungry to look at them.
Very ordinary, law-abiding, average, normal sort of family.
An envelope arrived, which was, I think, OHMS, and when we opened it, inside was a summons for Philip to appear in court.
I wish they'd get the trial finished and hand round the refreshments.
My name is Andy Goodrich, owner of a golf driving range, working extremely hard. A couple of lads come into the golf store with a carrier bag full of golf balls. Yeah, I'll have them off you. I don't know how much they were now. 10 quid. I paid the lads went away.
And thought nothing more of it.
Thought nothing more of it. I, regularly get kids and people offering me, old men offering me golf balls, people that walk dogs and stuff that pick them up on the course or whatever. Next thing, one day, a policeman comes in and says to me that, these golf balls have been stolen. They belong to the golf course. So I said, no, I think you're barking up the wrong tree here. He says, well, you're going to have to come down the station. He didn't handcuff me, but I think he would have done if I hadn't have come. Handling and receiving stolen goods. As a law-abiding citizen, never done nothing wrong in my life. I was being treated like a criminal, really. I mean, if it had been a bag full of drugs or something like that, I can kind of understand that. I sat down in this interview room. There was 2 policemen. The tapes went rolling, just like you do when I've seen it on the telly, actually, in the bill or whatever. And all these kind of nonsense questions came out, And my argument is that the balls actually really belong to the golfers. When they lose them, they lose them. They were winding me up, trying to wind me up to get them to bite. A little bit sad, really, if that's all they've got to do. The judge said, if you plead guilty, and it's coming back to me, if you plead guilty, we'll let you off with a caution or something. Apparently once it's in the system, it's very difficult to get out. And my solicitor actually said, well, you could do that and that'll be the end of it. But I thought, well, no, the way I am, I'm quite kind of a stubborn old git, really. That's not right. So I said, well, I'm not having that, and we'll fight this.
And that's the jury box. And those 12 creatures, I suppose, are the jurors. There's a duck, and a frog, and a squirrel. Tell me, Griffin, why are they all writing so busily on slates? They can't have anything to put down yet before the trial's begun.
They're writing down their names in case they forget them before the end of the trial.
Stupid things.
As Alice was standing just beside the jury box, she could see that all the jurors were writing down the words "stupid things" on their slates.
Okay, my name's Phil Bussin. I'm a student at Anglia Polytechnic University. It started when I was taking my usual route to college in the morning, got on the bus, and instead of saying she can ask for 60p, asked for the destination, which to me seemed quite normal because I asked for it every day. Then the bus inspector got on at my final stop and sat me down and asked some questions. The first thought was that it was part of a market research programme, but it turned out not to be. My mistake came later when I actually was sarcastic to him and said it to him, when he said to me, do you know the exact fare from bus stop A to bus stop B? When I said, obviously it was more than I've paid because you're questioning me about it. And he took this as some sort of admittance to an admission of guilt. I'd paid 60p, a case of 20p, so I thought nothing of it and left the bus.
An envelope arrived, which was, I think, OHMS, and when we opened it, inside was a summons for Philip to appear in court.
I opened it, yes. I couldn't believe it. Bit panic-stricken. And
Did you think he was guilty?
no, I didn't think he was guilty. He wouldn't willfully not pay a fare. but but I don't automatically assume he's telling the truth every time.
20p was the crime, basically.
Can buy an iced lolly for 20p.
I'm Clive Pearson. My bungalow, his bungalow. In March of 1989, my neighbour deliberately took down a fence, which it was held to be not the covenanted fence that he should have erected to define the boundary, though I thought it was.
Have you spoken to him since, though?
Recently, no one's seen him. You know, whether he's actually... There is a theory that he's sold his soul to the devil and he's been called in. I can believe that. And the legal nonsense that he cooked up was a boundary dispute. Initially, it was about 6 inches of land, but he pulled that back to an inch. He pulled it back to an inch. I mean, had he come in with, I want an inch of your land initially, I'd have probably given it to him, but 6 inches was material.
Silence in the court.
Herald, read the accusation.
The Queen of Hearts, she made some tarts, all on a summer day. The Knave of Hearts, he stole those tarts and took them quite away.
Consider your verdict.
Not yet, not yet. There's a great deal to come before that.
You hear of these things every day in newspapers. For example, the nun that got taken to court. She went to sleep on the train after a hard day's work praying. She lost the case. If she lost it, then I haven't really got much of a chance. Future career after university, I actually want to join the Metropolitan Police. And so this court case and getting a criminal record, if I'd have lost, would have affected that, because I don't think you can actually join the police force with a criminal record, regardless of how petty it might be.
Call the next witness.
I wonder whom the White Rabbit will call as the next witness. They haven't got much evidence yet.
Next witness, Alice.
Here!
Never been to court before. I've never been in trouble before. Do you call them judges that are up there? They kind of look at you, and they were looking at me like I was a thief or a criminal or a murderer or, you know, and I was kind of... They'd obviously made the right decision. They'd thrown it out. I mean, I hate to think what my solicitor bill would have been if I hadn't have won costs. Police I always thought were kind of wonderful before. At one point I wanted to be a policeman. Now, I made the police look like a laughingstock, and I feel that I kind of feel they're watching me every minute. I'm a bit paranoid. I've had a recent incident.
Give your evidence or I'll have you executed, whether you're nervous or not.
Well, I'm a poor man, Your Majesty, and I hadn't begun my tea not above a week or so. What with the bread and butter getting so thin and the twinkling of the tea?
The twinkling of what?
Well, it began with the tea.
Of course twinkling begins with a tea. Do you take me for a dunce?
Well,
Go on.
I'm a poor man, and most things twinkled after that, only the March Hare said...
I didn't...
Yes, you did.
I deny it!
He denies it. Leave out that part.
The miserable hatter dropped his teacup and bread and butter and went down on one knee.
I'm a poor man, Your Majesty.
You're a very poor speaker.
Oh, yes.
He didn't look like a judge. He was short and bewigged, and he was playing God. He was wearing this little curly wig, and I suppose if you look behind you might have found a little curly tail. You know, if you've got a full head of hair, why wear a wig?
Where shall I begin, please, Your Majesty?
Begin at the beginning and go on till you come to the end. Then stop.
Initially, we were told that the court case was set down for half a day. Then it was revised to 3 days, and it finally finished up at 4.5 years. It went on and on and on. We were in the court for 30 days.
I was intimidated once I actually walked through the doors of the court. It was very, very formal. Normally when you get the major sort of criminals, there's like a little box, and I walked in, and my girlfriend actually said to me that you're going to go in that box, and I was thinking, hold on, that's where the criminals go. My God, I'm a criminal. Over 20p.
Did you feel guilty?
I did at the time, actually, yeah. It was all the things like put your hand on the Bible and repeat after me and that. Really like a horrible experience, and I don't really want to go through it again.
Aww.
Mm,
You right?
I'm crying. As the magistrate was reading out, we find you. At that point, I was literally shaking, thinking, go on, son, go on, you know you're not guilty. And so they came out not guilty. At that point, a big sigh of relief came across my face. just walked out the room and went straight to the pub.
Yes.
It's left me feeling that London Transport can do what they want, and I'm a little bit gutted still because I've had no means of an apology whatsoever. Hey, I still want one. It's made me realise how easy it is then to end up in court. I've had an estimate of how much the actual court case cost of £5,000.
What do you know about this business?
Nothing.
Nothing whatever?
Nothing whatever.
That's very important.
Unimportant, Your Majesty means, of course.
Oh, unimportant, of course I mean. Important, unimportant, unimportant, important. Silence!
I felt a bit like a criminal, and I must admit I did break down halfway through. The judge accused me of amateur dramatics. That wasn't very pleasing. By day 19, I didn't know what was going on, and perhaps I'd better give the judge some credit, because I don't think he knew what was going on either. And on two occasions, I think he threw his papers down and said the issues aren't clear. And then we all reassured him that they were clear, because we didn't want to start again.
And what was the actual outcome of the trial?
Well, the outcome of the trial was that the judge found for a straight line boundary, which included 4 right angles. 2 of the right angles were an inch apart, and 2 of the right angles were 15 feet apart. And so we now have a new definition of a straight line with 4 right angles in. And I'm down to pay the costs.
And what are the costs?
Well, we haven't somewhere in excess of £130,000. Not bananas.
Which is a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. It's more than the bungalow's worth, let alone the inch strip of land.
Let the jury consider their verdict.
No! Sentence first, verdict afterwards.
Stuff and nonsense! The idea of having a sentence first!
Hold your tongue!
I won't!
Off with her head!
Nobody moved.
I put the blame fairly and squarely with the judge, and then with the system, that there is no way of saying, of barristers who both knew that he was no good, are standing up and saying, we want another one, please, this one's no good. A couple of weeks after the judge gave judgment, I was given a newspaper cutting that I've actually got it here. It says, drink drive charges, judge quits.
If there's no meaning in it, that saves a world of trouble, you know, as we needn't try to find any.
Do not be misled by this picture of mature manhood in front of you. It is a hollow shell.
Why?
Don't think I'm going to go into details.
Do you think it's something that you can put behind you?
I hope I can put it behind me. I hope I can.
This happened 18 months ago. I was in a nightclub, dancing and chatting with a girl that I knew. Next thing I know, this guy came over and smashed a glass straight in my eye. And even today, you know, I can't see out of my left eye. The police have been absolutely useless. I don't know if it's the police or the criminal the courts, really. The lad that done it didn't even do 6 months. At one point, I thought I'd lost both eyes. This incident wasn't treated as seriously as the golf ball case. You know, I've kind of lost a lot of respect for the police. And I used to take adverts in police calendars, and I used to take adverts, and I used to give prizes for police golf days, and I used to give them discounts and stuff like that. I don't do it any longer. I don't do hand-me-outs now to people like that. I just kind of try and look after myself now.
And she told her sister, as well as she could remember them, all those strange adventures of hers, and when she had finished, her sister kissed her and said,
"It was a curious dream, dear, certainly. But now, run into your tea. It's getting late."
In the next episode, Joe plays croquet. To pick out one thing from the programme, this was really quite a short programme, and yet in that time we had 3 narratives, plus the great narrative, Alice in Wonderland. And it's surprising how we never really get lost as to who we're listening to. And that's because the characters are so strong, and in radio we get to know them so quickly. The great advantage of running parallel narratives like this is that every time you cut from one story to another, that little juxtaposition is a point of strength and contrast. So we've got a whole series of mini punchlines where one narrative ends and beginnings where another one begins. That creates an energy which gives us the luxury of allowing our material to breathe. Plus, although we're very used to parallel narratives from crime series on the TV, it's actually a little bit unsettling because you can't quite tell where you're going to go when you cut back to another story. So it makes the whole thing more surprising and less predictable, which is always going to be good. And the music adds to the mood, but it also knits the whole thing together. Next episode, the croquet match.